Hi, my name's Daniela Forbes and I've been working as a chef for the last 15 years, with QMS for the last 6, helping young people with their cooking skills. Quality Meat Scotland have asked me to make this video to help you create your own perfect burger. However, before I start cooking, I'm going to talk a bit about the main ingredient in our burger, the meat. Today, I'm going to be making 3 burgers using Scotch beef, Scotch lamb and specially selected pork. Hopefully the information and skills you learn today will enable you to create your own delicious burger. So firstly, let me talk to you about the meat that I'm going to be using. Did you know that not all meat is created equally? Well, we're lucky in Scotland because it has the perfect landscape and climate for red meat production. Most of Scotland, over 80%, is covered in grasslands and often in areas that are not suitable for growing crops or vegetables, but perfect for growing grass, the main food for cattle and sheep. We get loads of rain in Scotland, which can be a real pain, but perfect for growing grass. It also means we don't need to divert water from human use or destroy any natural habitats to do so. Now you can find out more about the sustainability of red meat production and the full red meat journey on the QMS Education website. Just Google Farming Foodsteps. Next time you're buying meat from your local butcher or supermarket, keep an eye out for these logos: Scotch beef, Scotch lamb and specially selected pork. If you see these logos, it means the meat's not just Scottish, it's Scotch. The difference is that for meat to be sold as Scotch with these logos, it must meet a really strict set of rules, also known as assurance standards. The assurance standards cover all parts of the supply chain, including animal welfare, food safety, best practice and traceability. If farms don't meet these high standards, they can't use these logos. Animal welfare is a priority for Scottish livestock farmers, and independent checks are carried out on farms by the Scottish SPCA. So now you know a bit about how the meat is produced and about the Scotch difference. Let's have a quick chat about the health benefits before we get cooking. Now, eating a healthy, balanced diet is something I'm really passionate about. It's important that we get all the nutrients and vitamins we need to keep our bodies and minds healthy. Red meat is a rich source of protein, which is essential for growth, maintenance and repair of our bodies. But it also contains zinc, potassium, B vitamins and it's naturally low in salt. Enough talking, let's start cooking. I've got some Scotch beef, Scotch lamb and specially selected pork. We're going to make 3 delicious burgers using some really lovely spices and other bits and pieces. We're really just trying to complement the meat, bring the best out of that delicious flavour. Now when you're sourcing your meat and buying it, this is a pack that I got from Sainsbury's, but you can get Scotch beef in all the main supermarkets, as well as obviously your local butcher, and they know so much about the meat that you're using. So look for the logo. You can see there the Scotch beef logo. It's also got a Scottish flag and the PGI status there as well. So that's giving you the indication that it's gone through all the assurance standards and that you're going to be eating a truly delicious Scotch product. So my main advice for you when you're making burgers at home is, first of all, obviously great quality meat. The meat is really the main component of a burger. So you don't want to be adding too many other flavourings. You want to think about the meat variety, think about the flavour that you're trying to get out of your burger. Are you going for a classic beef burger? Are you going for something which has maybe got some other types of flavours in there? For example, an Italian burger, a Greek burger, a Middle Eastern burger. Today, I'm going to start with a classic beef burger, which is my go-to burger. It's the one I make the most often, and it's not really got very much in the way of flavourings and added things in it. So I'm going to start off with my Scotch beef. So you can see here, it's been it's got a medium mince. If you were getting your beef from the butcher, you could ask for it to be coarsely ground, and that gives you more texture. It gives you a kind of meatier consistency when you bite into it and makes it lovely and juicy. All right, now the fat content is also quite important when you're buying your meat. Don't buy a meat which is too lean. By that I mean anything under 10% fat is probably too lean. You can still make burgers with it, but it's not going to give you such a juicy, succulent burger. When you're cooking your meat, the fat actually melts and renders and it flavours the meat as you're cooking it. So a little bit of fat in there is a good thing. So we've got here 250 grams, and that's going to make 2 quite large burgers. A packet like this is 500 grams, will give you between 4 to 6 burgers. Now the recommended amount of red meat per day is 70 grams, but obviously most people wouldn't eat 70 grams every day. You might only have red meat, say, once or twice a week. So having a little bit more than that is fine, but the right portion size is about 100 to 150 grams for each burger, depending on how big you want that burger to be. Right, so let's start with the classic beef burger then. What I've got here is some very finely chopped onion, and I've picked some thyme leaves as well. Okay, so that's fresh thyme. If you don't have fresh, you can use dried, absolutely fine. The key thing with the onion is you need to chop it really, really finely. There's nothing worse than big chunky bits of onion in your burger, but it does give it a nice flavour and a nice succulent, so it is worth putting some onion in there. So let's pop all those in. So it's about maybe 2 sprigs of thyme and about 1/4 of a small onion, very finely chopped. So I'm going to pop those in. Now before you get started, obviously make sure that you've washed your hands really thoroughly, make sure you've got clean kit and everything you need to cook has been set up, okay? You want to get yourself organised, and that way you're going to cook in the most efficient way, okay? So into that then, we've got our onion, we've got our thyme, and we need to season that. Now seasoning is really critical. It's going to bring out the lovely, delicious flavour of the meat. We don't need to add too much, but remember that meat has no salt in it already, so it's okay to add a little bit of salt when you're cooking. So a good pinch of salt, a pinch of pepper. Okay, that's ground black pepper. And then I'm going to mix everything together in the bowl. Now you can use your hands, but for the first mix, I'm going to use a spoon. Obviously, whenever we touch red meat, it's critical that you wash your hands before you touch anything else. You don't want any cross-contamination, and that's what can happen when you're touching raw meat sometimes, okay? So I'm going to mix up all the burgers first, and then we're going to form the patties and cook them. All right, same quantity, 250 grams of lamb in here. Now the fat content is slightly higher. Lamb does have a higher fat content than beef usually. So look for anything between 15 and 20%. Obviously, if you go to the butcher, you can say to them, can I please have my minced lamb at 10 or 15% fat content, okay? And they should be able to kind of introduce a little bit of fat or take away a bit of fat from that for you, okay? So lamb in there. Now lamb has got a sweet and succulent flavour, and it really lends itself to Greek type flavours. So we're going to make a Greek themed burger. So to that, I'm going to add some feta cheese. Now this is made from ewe's milk. It's got quite a strong flavour. It's delicious with lamb, okay? So I'm going to pop in about 50 grams of crumbled feta cheese. In it goes, okay? And I'm also going to add a pinch of ground cinnamon, which again is lovely with these flavours. So add that in, not too much cinnamon. Cinnamon does have quite a strong, intense flavour, so you don't want to add too much. And once again, a good pinch of salt and pepper. Now, feta cheese is salty, so less salt. So you could probably get away with not adding any salt into this as well. I'm just going to add a small pinch though. And a bit of pepper. Okay, and the other one, the herb that goes fantastically well with lamb, and you've probably all heard about this combination, is mint, okay? Mint and lamb, they are fantastic partners and they go really well together. So I've got some mint here. So it's fresh mint. I've also got some coriander. One or the other, you could use both, you could use neither, depending on what you've got. That's the other thing about burgers. Completely make them your own, okay? Whatever flavours that you've got, think about flavours that go well together, but you can really personalise them with whatever you've got. Now, if you don't have fresh herbs, dried herbs will always be okay, but use less of them. So I tend to do about half the quantity of dried herbs versus fresh herbs. So when I'm chopping my herbs, what I do is I curl it all around like this. Keep my fingers tucked out of the way. I always use the claw grip when chopping anything. I've got a nice kind of wide chef's knife here. I'm going to hold it and pop my index finger there just to give me some support. The tip of my knife I'm going to rest on the chopping board, and I'm just going to do a back and forth kind of smooth action like this to chop the herbs. Always keep your fingers tucked out of the way. I'm going to go back over it again. You want things to be finely and consistently chopped before you add them to the burger. There's nothing worse than getting a mouthful of a big piece of something that you're not expecting, like herbs or onion. So keep everything small and consistent. Then you can go back over the herbs like this, 2 fingers resting on top. Okay. And I'm going to add about a tablespoonful of fresh herbs going in there. Okay, fantastic. So that's going to taste really lovely. And again, I'm going to use my spoon. Just mix everything roughly like that. Try and combine all those flavours together. Use the side of your spoon if you need to, just to cut the ingredients through into the meat. All right. And then finally, I've got some minced pork here, specially selected pork. So this one isn't called Scotch, it's called specially selected pork. Again, the fat content is around about 10% on this pork. Again, that can vary and fluctuate. Some pork that you buy can be very fatty. So watch out for it not going above 15 or 20% fat content. Now with this one, pork is actually a really great and fairly neutral kind of meat. You can really add a lot of spice and different flavours into pork and you'll get away with it, okay? And you can take it off into many different directions. Pork is fantastic with Asian flavours, it's great with Middle Eastern flavours, and it's really fantastic with Italian type flavours as well, okay? So you can really do what you want with pork. We're going to add some Middle Eastern flavours into this. So in here I've got some smoked paprika. So it's paprika that's got a slightly smoky and sweet flavour. I've also got some chilli flakes, but you could add fresh chilli as well, and some garlic, all right? So I'm just going to pop some of that in. About 1/4 teaspoon of the paprika and just a pinch of chilli flakes. Chilli flakes can be quite spicy, so if you don't like spice, you don't need to add it. If you really like spice, add more. Check who you're cooking for to make sure that they like spice too, all right? So we're obviously adding flavour into the burger, but another great way of bringing flavour to the burger is by considering your condiments, okay, and what you add to those. So perhaps if you wanted to add a bit of spice, you could add a bit of spice to your sauce, for example, if you didn't want all the burgers to be spicy. Right, great way of adding garlic in, again to make sure it's consistent, is by using a fine grater. Now this is a microplane, they're quite expensive, but usually on a grater you'll have a kind of fine side. So I'm just going to grate some of that garlic in, about 1/2 clove, okay, and just tap it down. Okay, and that's going to give you very nicely, finely minced garlic. And salt and pepper once again. A little bit more salt in this one. And a pinch of pepper. And again, make sure you're distributing the garlic and the spices and mixing that really well. So I'm not suggesting you go out and make all 3 burgers. Perhaps pick one to try, or pick one meat variety and really make it your own. So what we're going to do now is we're going to form the burgers into patties or burger shapes, and what we'll do is I've got a plate here and I'm going to form the patties now. So let's start with the beef burger. We did that one first. Okay, now I'm going to split that roughly in half. Okay. And I'm going to form it into a ball first of all with both my hands, and I'm going to kind of put some pressure on, and then I'm going to start to press it into shape. Okay, you can use your plate to push it down turn it over and use your hands just to form it into a nice patty shape. Pushing it down, turning it over and turning it around. Now you probably want that to be about 1/2 inch thick. Any thicker, it's going to take a long time to cook. So I've made all my burger patties here. You can see I've got 2 beef at the front, lamb and pork. They're all roughly the same width or diameter and the same thickness, okay? So they'll cook roughly at the same pace. You can see the lamb burgers are slightly bigger, and that's because obviously we added more ingredients into that. The feta's bulked them up slightly. So what we want to do now is to make sure they're all the same thickness, and also we want to just put a little bit of an indentation in the middle. Now if we do this by just pushing down with our 2 fingers, what this is going to do is help to stop the burger inflating and creating what we call the golf ball effect, all right? It helps to keep them flat. So we're going to do that on both sides and to all your burgers. So at this stage, you can refrigerate them now to cook them for later. I wouldn't keep them like this for more than about 24 hours. When you are cooking them, just bring them out the fridge about 10 minutes before you want to cook them, just to bring the temperature up slightly. And also just make sure you always wash your hands now before you handle any other utensils. So now we're going to get ready to cook these burgers. We are going to brown them in a pan by pan frying them to begin with. Then we're going to transfer them into the oven to finish them off. That way we're going to cook right into the centre and make sure they're fully cooked all the way through. The browning process at the beginning though is really important. We want to get a lovely crust on the outside. There's a chemical reaction that goes on, it's called the Maillard reaction, that gives you that lovely brown colour, and it just makes them so much tastier and succulent inside. So pan on, nice and hot. I'm going to get the burgers in, I'm going to cook the 2 beef ones to begin with, and then just show you the process of doing that. Right. So into my pan now, which is smoking already, I'm going to add some oil. Now the oil you use must have a high smoke point, so rapeseed, vegetable oil, something like that works well. Pop about a tablespoonful into the pan, and I'm just going to add a touch more salt and pepper just to help us with a nice crust on the outside. So let's get that beef burger into the pan. Burger's going in. You'll hear a sizzle, which tells you the pan is hot enough. Now make sure you don't crowd your pan. For now I'm going to brown 2 burgers and I'm going to do them in batches. So let your burger just have full contact and cook now at medium-high temperature for a couple of minutes. Don't move them around too quickly, because what you need to happen now is that chemical reaction to form that lovely brown crust on the outside, and the fat will begin to melt and render, and that will help to baste the burgers and cook them. If you try to move them too quickly, they'll stick to the pan, okay? So just leave them for a couple of minutes before you turn them over. Flip that over. You can see that beautiful brown colour. Okay, so that's lovely and brown on both sides. Grab yourself an oven tray and just transfer them in. And then put them into a heated oven, about 200 degrees Celsius, for around about 10 minutes. Our burgers are in the oven. They're cooking. They're going to take about 10 to 12 minutes to cook all the way through. While they're cooking, this is the perfect time to get any condiments that you need ready. So I've got here some brioche buns. So these are a slightly sweeter, enriched type of burger bun. You can buy them in most supermarkets. You could just use any kind of bun that you like though. These just make a really nice partner to all of that different sort of delicious flavour in the burger. So I've toasted them in the middle just by cutting them in half and popping them under the grill for a minute or two. You can do that in advance, it's not a problem. Then I'm going to go old school with some iceberg lettuce. It's nice and crunchy, and it also acts as a barrier to stop the juices from the burger getting the roll really soggy. And I've got a big beef tomato. So I'm going to cut that into slices. I've got a serrated knife here, which makes it nice and easy to cut. So just cut that into even slices. So we're going to do 1 beef burger, 1 pork burger, and 1 lamb burger. So to go with our beef burger, I'm going to make a really simple burger sauce. Now, what's a beef burger without a bit of ketchup, maybe some mayo, and if you want to spice that up, maybe a little bit of hot sauce, Tabasco, or any hot sauce that you've got in the fridge. So mayonnaise, I'm going to add, obviously it depends on how many burgers you've got, around about a teaspoon per portion. So let's go in with a heaped teaspoon of mayo and about the same of ketchup, and then a little bit of a splash of chili sauce or hot sauce, and mix those up. And it's basically ready to go. Next up then is the lamb burger. So we went for feta, mint, a bit of garlic and cinnamon. So we're going to go and continue with that kind of Greek theme. So here's a tzatziki. This is a really simple, great recipe to have up your sleeve as well. I'm doing a kind of simplified version of it today. I've got some Greek yogurt in there that's full fat, but you could use half fat too. If you didn't have Greek, you could use a natural yogurt. I've got cucumber. I've removed the skin. I'm also going to remove the seeds. Really simple, just use a teaspoon and scrape it down like that, just to remove the seeds. And then you can either chop it really finely or grate it. So let's chop that. Okay, I'm just going to pop that in with the yogurt. You can add garlic into this as well if you like. Because we've got garlic in the burgers, I'm not going to bother. Alright, and then I've got mint and coriander, either or. You could even add parsley into this if you had that around. So bunch that all up. And finely chop like we did before. Right, pop that in. And then we're going to add some salt and pepper to that. And give it a good mix round. And that's ready to go. Last but not least, we've got the pork burger, which had Middle Eastern flavours. So we added smoked paprika and some garlic and some chili. We're going to make a rose harissa mayonnaise. So this is a harissa paste. So that is basically a combination of different spices. It's got cumin, paprika, cinnamon. You can buy a dried version or a paste. Either would be fine. So let's go for half a teaspoon of that with some more mayo. Okay. And we're basically ready to go. So let's go and get our burgers out of the oven now and start assembling our burgers. So our burgers have been in the oven for about 10 minutes. All of our condiments are ready. I want to make the burger, the beef burger, into a cheeseburger. So I'm just going to show you a very simple way to get that cheese lovely and melted. Just get a nice chunky slice on top of the cheeseburger and then back in the oven for the final minute or so of cooking, and that's going to be oozy and melty when you assemble your burger. So that's our burgers ready. We've got the cheese melted and the other ones are fully cooked all the way through. So now let's assemble these. So we're going to start with the beef burger. We're going to put the burger sauce, spread it on the bottom, spread some on top. Okay, as much as you like. Then tzatziki on the lamb one. Okay, I'm just going to put one layer of that on. Okay, then we've got our harissa mayo. Top and bottom. So we've got our condiments on there. So now we're going to pop our iceberg lettuce. I'm going to put that to the bottom and that will stop the burger meat sort of dripping down too much. So a nice big leaf. Then we're going to pop the burgers in. So starting with our cheeseburger, lamb burger and pork burger. And just to finish them off then, lovely slice of beef tomato. Now at this point you could add pickles, you could add bacon, whatever you like in the burger. Pop the lid on. Wow, don't they look good? So that's your 3 completed burgers. Yummy. Sweet, juicy meat there. Still nice and moist, but fully cooked through. Cheese is melted. That looks delicious. So I hope you enjoyed that. I had great fun making these 3 burgers with Scotch lamb, specially selected pork and Scotch beef. They taste absolutely delicious. It'd be great for you to try these out, experiment with your own flavours, and when you're buying your meat, just make sure you look out for those logos in your butchers or in the supermarket. Have fun, take care, and keep cooking.